My name is David Latt, and I'm the founder and managing editor of AboveTheLaw.com. I do think that associate bonuses are an indicator of the health and the financial wherewithal of a firm. Prior to Above the Law, a lot of associate bonus coverage would simply comment on the first or the market-setting announcement of the season. So somebody might report and say, well, Cravath, which is often the firm that leads the charge, announced bonuses at these levels. And that would pretty much be it. But what we noticed is there was a hunger for much more granular, micro-level coverage of bonuses. People didn't want to just know what Cravath did. They wanted to know what Cravath did, and Davis Polk, and Simpson Thacher, and Wilson Sonsini, and Morgan Lewis, and any number of firms. And so we found that as we covered these stories, even if they were just matches of the Cravath scale, we were getting a lot of traffic. People were very into these stories. And once we discovered that we could do this and people would read them, we started to do more and more of them. There are a couple of takeaways from this year's bonus season, which was especially interesting compared to some other bonus seasons. I think one, you're seeing the stratification of firms where a couple of firms can pay these very generous bonuses and other firms are struggling to keep up. It was almost like Davis Polk and the other firms were driving a Ferrari and somebody else was driving an Acura, and suddenly they stepped on the pedal and their car zoomed forward and the Acura couldn't keep up. That is kind of a metaphor for this year's bonus season. A second big takeaway from this year's bonus season was the reemergence of New York versus non-New York. A long time ago, New York associates used to be compensated more generously than their colleagues in other offices. Then, in the wake of that 2007 or so pay raise, a lot of national offices moved their pay scales up to the New York scale, regardless of where you were based. And maybe this reflected the increasing nationalization or even globalization of legal practice. I could be in Texas, but maybe you're still billing me out at a really high rate as an associate, so you should pay me like a New York associate. This year, you saw some firms treating their New York people more generously than their non-New York people, which is something that, at least at some firms, we haven't seen in a while.